Welcome to the special edition of the Chiefs. With me right now is Ed Lingao of News 5. Ed, may kasama pa ba tayo? Wala pa yata sila Ami.
Mamaya, dating si Ami mamaya. Si Lucci, I think, is off today.
O, ikaw tatanungin ko ngayon, anong mga balita pinomonitor mo?
Well, I suppose the president, the one about the president calling Congress to a special session next week. Now, I suppose what's interesting there is that yung special session days na kinol ng Pangulo are precisely the days kung saan nagbakasyon ang lower chamber.
At saka,
specifically Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week. If you follow the house calendar, dapat hanggang Friday talaga sila kung di sila nagbakasyon nung Tuesday.
At saka, obviously, two things here, and that Malacanang has been very clear about this. Ang concern ng President is the budget, no? Make sure na maayos ang budget, and not only that, he wants to make sure that the process, as he said, is legal and constitutional. But when you force this special session, it's literally, just figuratively speaking, it's reopening a can of worms. Yeah, hindi natin alam kung ano mangyayari pag
may session, maaaring may botohan.
Oo, di ba? Kaya nga ng mga congressman na nag-guest natin these past days, sinabi nila, once the session is there, anything can happen. Anybody can call for a confidence vote. Anybody can call for, alam naman natin yung pinag-uusapan ngayon, for that change in speakership.
But I suppose kasi what's also important to point out is it does look like a slap on the face of the lower chamber kasi you really are looking at the president calling for a special session on precisely the same days na iniwasan ang Kongreso. I mean, if it was a matter of if the president believed what congressmen were saying na we don't really have to go to session next week. I mean, next coming week. This is the president way of saying, no, I need you there. You shouldn't have skipped out.
Not only that, for people wanting to see something categorical. Kasi yung tanong ng mga tao, di ba? Parang ini-ignore ba ng mga congressman si President Duterte? But in fairness, the congressman could also say na hindi naman categorical. Sinabi niya lang naman kay Lord Alan Velasco, ipaglaban mo yung karapatan mo. Hindi naman niya sinabing ikaw na. Di ba? Hindi niya rin naman sinabing gawin niyo to sa budget. They were waffling a bit. But if you want something categorical here, it's the president saying, I want a session, not only that, as you pointed out, very specific. Pumasok kayo sa mga araw na to. So this really lays down a very, very clear line, which would be interesting, and does it signal more?
Yeah. And then si Lord Alan Velasco gave an interview, of course, with another network nga lang. Pero if Lord Alan is to be believed, ang sabi rin ng Pangulo during his meeting with Lord Alan, and this is quoting Lord Alan, who is quoting the president, ang sabi rin ng Pangulo sa kanya, mukhang na-dengue tayong dalawa. but that is, of course, just to I have to stress that point, na that's Lord Alan quoting the president, and of course, Lord Alan is one of those fighting for the position.
And not only that, pagka mga ganyan na quote, you're always waiting for, well, on the one hand, you take that with a grain of salt. Also, I'm sure there will be people also on the side of Speaker Alan Cayetano saying hindi naman yun yung actually sinabi, and we will have to see what Malacanang also says. If Malacanang says that those words were in fact what the president said, that's going to be interesting. Okay, anyway, let's jump straight into this, into our guest. We have a very important guest, really the woman of the hour, really at the top of the agenda of the nation this entire week. We have with us DepEd Secretary Leonor Briones. Secretary Briones, welcome po to the Chiefs.
Yes, I'm happy to be with you. I'm happy to see Ed again, and Robbie, of course. First time I met Ed, he was very young, very lanky.
Matangkad pa rin mo, pero hindi na po lanky.
Ako naman puting-puti na lahat ng buhok ko.
Freedom from that coalition pa si Ma'am noon.
Yeah, freedom from that coalition pa. Kapanahonan pa yon ng
But
Ibang
ma'am,
henerasyon.
but ma'am, we have to say you're looking fresh, notwithstanding that the whole nation will grant it to you. That this is really has been really one of the busiest times of your time in government, certainly this week. And as you said, it took a lot just to get to opening of classes, and
Yes.
that really was the context of what you said. Na this was a victorious day just to get our people, our children, and our teachers back to school. Now, alam naman, hindi naman
Thank
po
you
natin
for
dinideny may mga
getting the context of my message. Just to be
Opo.
able to open schools this year,
Mm.
that in itself was already a triumph.
Yes, and
Yes.
then we do agree. I mean, but alam din po natin there were a lot of problems. Yung context naman po nung mga hissing and ng mga jeering was also coming from a lot of people wanting, of course, also for things to be better sana. But how would you grade it? How would you grade our first week? Not just for DepEd, but for the entire country.
Ah, alam mo, Robbie, Ed and Ami, itong school year na ito, academic school year na ito, ibang-iba talaga sa earlier school years. Kasi una, we had barely 4 months to make a very dramatic pivot in our approach to education because of COVID, and also COVID-19 was followed by a very sharp downturn in the economy, which affected also the learning process, enrollment, etc., etc. So we had 4 months to prepare. Pero ang desisyon namin, learning must continue, education must continue. Mag-lockdown ta, nakailang revolusyon na tayo, nakailang rebellions na, nakailang bagyo, ilang earthquake na, pinapatuloy pa rin natin dahil maski 2 buwan na delay sa ating mga bata, ang laki-laki ng loss, no? So immediately nung dineclare last March ng gobyerno na mag-lockdown ta, national lockdown, we started planning for our continuity program. Ang focus is continuity, continuing the learning process. And we had very limited time to do it. Because every day my challenge, and of course you had this huge debate, pagpatuloy ba o hindi ang pag-aaral ng mga bata. At saka maliwanag yung sinabi naming position ng DepEd. Kasi if you wait until we spend sa budget natin about 32 billion a month, which we have been faithfully compensating our teachers with. And kung one day na walang klase and everything, ang budget niyan is about 395 billion. So that is only one aspect. The other aspect niya, ang pinaka-importante, of course, is the learning process. A child who is 10 years old will be 11 or 12 by the time he goes back to school. Mayroon niyang epekto. Ngayon, decision namin at that time was blended education. Now, sa inyong topic, sinabi pa nga ninyong towards new normal. Hindi naman new ang at saka hindi naman bago itong blended education. Dahil yung mga teachers natin, pinag-aralan yan noon-noon pa. Ang pagkakaiba lang is because ang blended education usually includes either limited or a part of it is face-to-face learning. Ang President was very emphatic na ayaw niya ng face-to-face for as long as COVID was around. So yung menu of options namin was focused on online, offline, TV, radio, and modular approach. No, ito walang bago dito eh. These are things that teachers are familiar with. It is the combination which is crucial. So the other principle which we agreed on is that no one size fits all. Walang overall framework that will be marching to the same tune. Dahil magkaiba ang situation, halimbawa ng NCR, iba ang situation sa mga far-off islands and so on and so forth. That was really quite a challenge. And at the same time, we didn't have exactly a completely supportive environment. because there are political issues, social issues, economic issues. Iba ayaw magpatuloy, and the local governments were also busy with handling COVID-19. So not all of them were particularly enthusiastic about opening schools because isang issue, Robbie and Ed and Ami, of course, is the use of our schools for quarantine places, no, which was also a very difficult decision to make. So ang dami nagsabayan, pero ang sabi namin, hindi dapat i-sacrifice ang education.
Well, Secretary, gaya nga po ng sabi nyo, marami yan. Ano? Let's try to get into it one by one. But given everything you said, but also after this first week, what would you say is the one or two biggest problems that we need to address right now? And what's the one thing, what's one big problem that is actually out of your control, would you say?
Right now, masasabi ko, in itself, the fact that we were able to open schools is already a victory in itself, no? Na talagang we said, okay, we opened the schools. And then yung strategies na magkaiba. Ngayon, one tool, one strategy, hindi na tactic na yon. One tactic which we resorted to and which was very effective is nag-dry run kami, Robbie, Ed, and Ami. During the past 4 months, dry run namin yung mga methods. Makikita ninyo halimbawa sa Nabotas, inano yung pag-deliver, paglinis ng mga material, pagpunta sa bahay ng mga bata, sa mga far-off islands. So we conducted more than 50,000 dry runs na sinubukan. Doon naglabasan ang it's like building a house. Your house is not yet finished, but usually sa ating kultura, hindi pa tapos, mag-move in ka na para makita mo. And that is exactly what happened, no? Nag-dry run kami, nakita namin yung mga difficulties and challenges, and of course that was given massive publicity months even before we started. Naglabasan na ito na yung mangyari, ito na mangyayari. May nagsasabi na hindi kaya ng DepEd, mahina ang DepEd, etc. Di nila yan kaya. Pero siguro nakayanan naman namin. Nakayanan namin dahil alam namin kung anong mangyari. On the day of October 5, may earthquake, 5 point something in one of the islands. We had several local governments who issued resolutions na ayaw nilang magbukas ng klase. Pero nandyan sa batas, sa bayanihan law na superior ang national law vis-a-vis local government privileges and so on and so forth. So hindi natuloy yung mga attempts. May mga mga statements, may mga mura sa buong buhay ko, Robbie. Hindi pa ako namura ng PFDI. Imagine at my age, PFDI kuno ko. And then, see you in hell, mga ganyang klase na lengguwahe, which emphasize the fact that we really need to educate our learners and also the adults. Ngayon, so, that's why parang nagbi-build up yun na kasi during the dry runs, naglabasan itong mga problemang ito and there was fulsome publicity. Then on the day of the the day of school itself, there were mga fake photos na lumabas, hindi naman sa inyo, na klarong nakapost, parang galing sa chorus line, na sabay-sabay nagre-raise ng mga kamay, nagtitingin sa camera, fully made up. Ed, you will remember, in my activist days, I climbed up to the sa EDSA shrine. Somebody was pulling me, alas 12 ng tapat yun. Hindi ganyan ka-beauty ang itsura ko. Even though I was younger at that time. Oo. And maski
you talk about the photos of the teachers on the roof.
At saka, and then also in that town, ang daming cell sites. Ang daming malalaking kasi sabi walang connectivity, etc. Kung walang connectivity, Robbie, paano padala yung mga photos na yun?
At so yun yung, ma'am, that's the photo on the rooftop, Yun yung rooftop sa Santo Niño.
Yeah, at saka kita talaga na parang, kitang-kita naman na parang chorus line. O if you want a description, parang hors de ballet ng Swan Lake.
Ma'am, have you looked at that specific case? Have you found out
So,
their situation there?
Oo. And I think if we, in your profession, in my profession, we advocate honesty and we look for honesty from people in government or even the ordinary citizens. We expect honesty also among ourselves.
Yeah, ma'am,
Maraming mga pictures ganyan na naglalabasan.
Pero Secretary, may nag-interview na rin kami ng ibang education officials and they're saying, kasi even if you say na blended learning is not new to you, it's really actually, yung extent niya that it's nationwide, it's really new to a lot of, well, I think to all the students and even to their parents. Tapos
Yes, that's right.
Yung ibang education officials, sinasabi nila, hindi na daw babalik sa dati. Kahit anong mangyari, hindi na daw babalik sa dati ang education natin sa Pilipinas. What does that mean exactly? Ano yung mga matitira dyan? Even if we already have a vaccine, even if we go back to face-to-face, ano yung mababalik na yun?
Alam mo, Ami, ako ang nagsabi niyan. Sinabi ko sa mga teachers ko, sa mga officials ko, we cannot go back anymore to how we did things before. Because even without COVID-19, even without all these things happening, education is moving globally, regionally, and there is more dependence on particular approaches. So maski tinuruan nila yan, pinag-aralan nila yan theoretically, ngayon, pa-practice na at saka mayroong situation pa na walang face-to-face. O what I say as face-to-face, walang face-to-face. And that is considered important in the teaching, in the learning process. Pero the choice is there. No, we have to make that kind of choice. Totoo yan. Sinabi ko sa kanila, hindi na tayo babalik sa dati nating sistema. Kasi ang dominance ng technology at saka yung maraming, halimbawa, mga parents, hindi na ganun kadali na magturo sa kanilang mga anak o sa kanilang mga wards dahil yung content iba na. So hindi na tayo talaga makabalik sa dating mga estilo and this will have all of which have to be adjusted. Kaya even before COVID, we already formed last year pa. Nag-form na kami ng tinatawag naming Futures Study Group. The Futures, Education Futures, what will education contain, how will it be taught, and even how will we look like, for example, 50 years from now. We are not thinking in terms of, well, 2022 hanggang dito lang tayo. Hindi. So, alam natin that is forthcoming and I always tell them hindi na tayo makabalik. Kaya kailangan magsanay na tayo. So we have this series, 6 na buwan yun, 4 to 6 months yun. Ang dami naming mga webinars na ginawa sa mga teachers, no, sa bagong pagtuturo. And then every day we make as many as 27 television shows for the children and so on. Hindi naman new normal bago ang television. Palagi ko nga sinasabi sa kanila dahil matanda ako sa kanila at matanda ako sa inyo na nakadalawang world war na tayo na hindi naman gumamit ng Twitter at hindi naman gumamit even ng television. It was radio. So in far off places and the president agrees and even the multilaterals agree, we will be using radio. Ako na sa edad kong ito, naabutan ko yung radyo na tinuturo over the air, yung tinatawag na schools of the air. And even in big countries like Australia, dahil malawak yung lugar nila, they still use radio. So yung variety of teaching approaches, lumalawak. And this is something which we tell our teachers, they have to prepare themselves for, because we cannot go back
Okay.
to
Yeah, but
predominantly face-to-face.
But to push
And this
Ami's
time,
yeah, and
question,
Secretary, we've been having a
yeah,
just
we've
to
been
push
having a
Ami's,
thing
then we
that
will
this.
kill this
question a little bit
planet.
further.
We will kill
Ma'am,
this planet if we use up a lot of paper.
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Can you give us more
Secretary,
detail on
I hope you don't mind my interrupting you. Si Ed Lingaw lang po, medyo mahina yung audio. So I hope you don't mind. I'll let Ed speak up. Medyo mahihain po yan. Mahina boses niyan eh.
Thank you po. Ma'am, just to push Ami's question further with more detail sana. When you say that hindi na tayo babalik dun sa dating sistema, specifically po, what parts of the old system do you see being discarded and what parts of the new system do you see being put in place permanently? If you can go into more detail po. For
Yeah.
example,
One example, halimbawa, Ed, we feed our children a lot of data. When did Magellan discover the Philippines? When was the revolution declared, etc., etc. Makukuha yan ng bata sa sa internet. Ang daming sources ng data. Ang ituturo natin how to analyze those data. Anong message dyan? Anong makukuha natin? Kaya reduce natin yung learning competencies na 15,000 na. Dati naman, in-excoriate ang DepEd kasi sobrang learning competencies na ginagawa. Ngayon naman, sinisisi dahil bakit 4,000 na lang. Pero ang sabi namin ang importante na what is basic for a child to survive when he goes out of school, no? So example lang yan. Pangalawa, and this has implications on the budget dahil kanina pinag-usapan ninyo yung budget. Ang design ng mga school rooms natin, ang design ng furniture natin, baka magbago yan. Kasi you already talk about smart classrooms. You talk about e-libraries and so on and so forth. But at the same time, we have places na hindi ma-reach even ma-reach mo lang by radio. Ma-reach mo lang by modular.
Doon po sa yung itsura ng new classroom, yung mga online. Just this past week, we've been talking to a lot of teachers. And sinasabi nila, access, I mean, this is in Metro Manila, Quezon City, Ramon Magsaysay High in Cubao in particular, yung isang nakausap ko kanina. And sinabi niya, access in terms of logging on, that's fine. But she shared an insight with officers of the Alliance of Concerned Teachers where the stability of the connection was a problem, as well as they noted na marami raw pong hindi nakakapag-absent. They noted anywhere from 30% to up to 50% of the class hindi nakakapasok this week, which basically goes to the question of connectivity and access. How are we addressing this?
We are talking with the telcos at saka dumadami na including hindi ko sasabihin kung gaano sila kadami na inuupuan natin yan dahil report naman yan sa atin and we know that is really a problem. Kaya nga you have an entire menu of options at saka napansin namin na during enrollment lumabas, maski alam natin maraming cellphone, maraming tablets, maraming mga gadgets na nakalutang-lutang sa Pilipinas, ang preference pa rin nila ay yung modular. So that indicates na siguro at this point in time, hindi pa ganun ka accepted as a learning tool. You use these things for entertainment, for chika, for connecting with people, with friends, exchanging stories, but not necessarily for learning. And that, of course, is a challenge to us. Kasi we are just starting, no? Inumpisahan natin ito. And while the technology is old, and I will insist on this, the approaches are old, tinuro yan sa mga teachers. Pero yung application, iba na. Iba yung application, iba yung realidad na yun ay gamitin as teaching tools. So, recognize natin yan and we are gathering as much information as we can dahil mismo si Presidente during his SONA, State of the Nation Address, he called on the telcos to work together with DepEd on these issues, yung issue of connectivity. So, what I would like to emphasize is that right from the beginning, nakita natin yan. Even if we knew that the use of technology is quite prevalent, but not necessarily for teaching and for transmission of learning. Yun ang shift na hindi pa natin naaabot at this time. So
Secretary,
we have to start somewhere.
Secretary, talking about that shift,
Ami.
dito sa shift, actually, merong malaking role yung parents and we talk to the
Yes.
teachers and they're saying, apart from their students, they have to teach daw a lot of parents kung paano tutulungan yung mga estudyante. Now, we understand you have a program for you're setting up a team ba to assist parents. Tama ba yun? Is there such a program? A team of
Yes.
for parents.
As early as several months ago, halimbawa, you think Kalinga Apayao, they have a nanay academy or what they describe as a parents academy. Ang nag-set up nito ang mga parent teachers associations. Kasi usually, pag-uusapan sa PTA, mga donations, etc. Ngayon, ang pinag-uusapan nila, how to help parents who feel that they are unprepared. Kasi lumawak yung role ng parents dito at saka sa local governments. Oo. Dati naman, we expect DepEd to do all the delivery. Sabi nga na isang parent, disweldohan mo ako pala ang magturo sa anak ko. Oo. Tapos mayroon namang bata na sumulat sa akin kasi mga bata, 8 years old, marunong nga yan mag-get in touch with the secretary. Ayaw kong mama ko ang magturo sa akin, gusto ko teacher. Oo. So we get all this feedback, we get them together and we see how we can respond, but not, as I said, on a one-size-fits-all basis dahil magkaiba talaga ang situation ngayon. Oo. Lumalabas yan.
One of the things...
Magsa-set up kayo ng pool to, halimbawa, I'm a parent, hindi ko maintindihan. Kanino ako tatawag? Halimbawa, I'm from Metro Manila. Yung ibang parents, sabi
Yes.
Kanino, can I call anyone apart from the teacher? Kasi sabi ng mga teacher, gabi tinatawagan sila.
Una, ang tawagan mo yung teacher. Kasi the teachers is in charge of a particular subject, a particular class. Hinahandle na yon. Kung may problema pa rin, then you go to the next higher authority, the head of the school itself. At saka yung iba naman, they don't bother with those things, and that's all right. They write directly to me. And then I call the regional director, I call the head of the school, na there is a problem here, and will you see what can be done about it. Pero we are not resorting to the usual na mag-issue ka ng circular, mag-issue ka ng memorandum, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ito yung gagawin mo. Dahil at the level of the family, kanya-kanyang adjustment sila eh. May mga parents na nagtatrabaho at saka may mga mothers or parents na they do not necessarily have the patience to teach a child because they have other gifts, they have other qualities, no? So tulungan ang mangyari yan.
Ma'am, doon pa rin po sa point ni Ami, marami pong nagkwento nga niyan na yung mga teacher na raw 24/7 na, hating gabi na, tinetext pa rin sila ng mga parents. The Alliance of Concerned Teachers says maybe one possible thing that we might consider is yung anticipating na tuloy-tuloy yan, no? Na maybe liitan yung classes, damihan yung teachers. Is this something that's being considered, and do we have enough teachers for that option?
Actually, again, I think I mean, you have to credit us with a little gray matter between our ears, no? Sa department. Nakita na namin that these things will be happening. So we already negotiated with the Department of Budget and Management. Sabi namin, kailangan ng para-teachers, yung what we call para-teachers, na maski hindi pa nag-qualify, pwedeng makatulong si ate, si yaya. Oo. Yun ang linalakad namin ngayon. Pumayag naman si DBM, pero we are coming out with the guidelines at saka ito pang kalahatan sa inyong tatlo na sinishare ko because I'm a person in public administration. Hindi lang yung challenge sa education, challenge sa buong governmental system. Dahil sa COVID-19, dahil sa downturn ng economy, kailangan reviewin yung mga proseso sa pag-i-employ. Kasi mahaba yung proseso sa pag-employ ng isang teacher halimbawa. No, maraming requirements, interviews, rankings, etc. So hanapan niya ng paraan na we cannot also do, I talk about not going back to what we used to do. Government cannot also go back to what it was used to doing before COVID, because things have really changed. I'm going to be 80 very soon, but I'm scared na baka hindi ako makasurvive in the world that is coming out. But I know that it's going to be there. And it's not my world. It's going to be the world of the learners. And this is something that we have to prepare them for. Ang isa sa principle yan, and it's in the law, na yung pagturo sa mga bata, is the capacity to accept change. We are used to permanence, especially in government, in bureaucracy. You have a certain way of teaching, you have a certain way of buying automobiles, you have a certain way of riding a vehicle or of paying your teacher. But this time, we have to make adjustments because COVID and the economy, between the two of them, have really profoundly challenged the ways that we do things, even in the private sector, even among private schools.
Okay.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
may I raise my hand?
Ikaw naman mag-recite. Siguro naman itong teacher ito, ang daldal.
Our reporter in Congress was earlier telling us that there were significant cuts in the proposed budget of DepEd by the DBM before it even reached Congress. This is what she was telling us. Mga 1.1 trillion daw ang
Trillion.
ng
Yes,
DepEd
yes.
before. It was cut to almost half, to only 606 billion.
600.
Yeah, po, the same
605 billion.
the same goes po with your proposed budget for modules, your printed modules.
Yes.
Na 35 billion sana, ginawa na lang 15 billion. That's even less than half.
Yes,
So we're
yes.
looking at significant cuts based on what you were projecting that you needed for
Yes.
the whole school year. Which
That's
brings
it.
up the question po, how do you intend to fit all your plans into all these budget expenses, given the fact that you're only getting half of what you had in mind to begin with? For example, second, third, and fourth quarter, yung modules po, hindi na po 1:1. So are we expecting po more difficulties as we go down the school year?
Ang ano namin dyan, Ed, dalawa yung klase, at the very least, dalawa ang aming estimate. Yung ideal, what we are targeting, which is really 1.15 trillion. And then yung what we can possibly live with. At saka, unknown to the public, there are two levels of negotiation. One, you negotiate with the DBM, because they call you, they tell you, we're going to cut your ears, or we're going to reduce your budget. And then you also present your budget to Congress. And there are limits because each agency has to contribute also to the Bayanihan Fund. I think it is not very well known that the Bayanihan Fund is also funded by contributions from the different agencies. But we can also try to access, if we can, the Bayanihan Fund. Anyway, so right now, what Congress, and by Congress I mean both houses, they are studying the possibility of restoring or adding to the current proposal of DBM. Pero kami, sa side kami kasi ng executive, we are in the executive side, and it is the Congress which makes the final decision. Nasa kanila yon kung they will adjust the budget. Senate, for example, during the Senate hearing, they saw all those things that you mentioned, Ed. And this is why also we are not. We are already telling our people, for example, this dependence on modules is not going to be only financially expensive, kasi mahal talaga, the bidding and the reso machines and printing and all the nice stories that go along with the bidding process, procurement and all that. But also, we're going to decimate the environment.
Yeah,
That's
all the
for
paper.
sure.
Okay.
Yes, yes. We're going to be like Arrakis in the book June na talagang completely desert planet ang maglalabas, and we are also conscious of that. So ito ay babalanse, and now since it has been submitted, the budget, not only ours but the entire national budget has been submitted to both houses. Now both houses kasi second reading pa ang Congress. So, kailangan pa nila yung third reading. And then they will pass it on to the Senate. The Senate has this opportunity to review the budget, and then they have to reconcile the various versions. You are familiar with that process, and that is how the budget will finally turn out. Pero kami, we are prepared. Ang blessing lang, alam mo, ang blessing lang sa DepEd is that so many love education. So, ang daming nagvo-volunteer, mga civil society groups, mga experts, mga individuals, mga civic organizations, religious organizations, nagvo-volunteer to help out because they know that something kulang talaga ang resources. Kasi imbes na palakihin mo ng gusto yung budget, nakat because of COVID-19. Kaya konektado din ito sa ng economy. For as long as the economy is on the downturn, then the pressure on the budget, on the revenues of government will be horrendous. It will really be huge. So itong dalawang ito ang binabalanse.
Yeah. Secretary, all of this just illustrates na umpisa pa lang po ang trabaho nyo. Definitely, we wish you, everybody, the DepEd, lahat po ng mga guru natin, we wish everybody well. We will let you go because alam po namin that you're heading into even more busy days. We wish you well. Maraming salamat po for
Baka kayo inaantok. I'm a night person, so I'm not particularly... Sanay akong hindi natutulog eh. Pero kayo, I can see from your eyes na you're ready to drop off already.
Working hour na.
We're just moving on to our next class.
Your next class. Magre-recite na naman kayo.
Tama. Maraming salamat po sa inyo. Mabuhay po.
Sige, thank you, Ed, Ami, and Robbie. It's such fun to talk with you, and I'm sorry if I did most of the talking. Pero
No.
ang hirap ng teacher. Hindi teacher na lola pa. So yung mga apo tinitingnan. Okay, thank you.
We appreciate it. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you.
Salamat for all the good wishes. Please, pray for us.
Thank you.
The learners, not necessarily for DepEd. Okay, thank you.
We will need to take a quick break. Please stay with us. The Chiefs will be right back.
Welcome back to the Chiefs. We're now in the final stage of our conversation, and I would like to welcome our next guest, Mr. Vince Dizon. Secretary Vince Dizon is the President and CEO of the Bases Conversion and Development Authority. He also plays a major role in our flagship projects and in our pandemic response, of course. Siguro tanungin muna natin si Mr. Dizon about the flagship projects. Kumusta na po yun? Considering what's happening now, tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung problema natin sa pandemic, Mr. Dizon. On track ba yung mga build natin? Kasi before, nagkakaproblema na tayo even before the pandemic eh. But now it's supposed to contribute to our recovery, no? Na ituloy natin yung infrastructure projects. How are we doing now?
Opo, good evening po, Ma'am Ami, Sir Robbie, Sir Ed. Alam niyo po, malaki po ang naging epekto nitong pandemya sa infrastructure program natin. Marami pong mga na-delay. At dahil nga po doon, medyo rinipaso natin yung ating mga flagship projects. Meron po tayong mga tinanggal, meron din naman pong dinagdag. Pero as of now po, simula nung tayo ay loosen ng ating restrictions nung bandang mga June at July, medyo nagsimula na po yung infrastructure, no? Not just for the government but also for the private sector. Nag-start na po ulit ang construction dahil alam naman natin na very critical po yung construction industry tsaka yung infrastructure sa ating recovery dahil ito po yung mabilis na makakapag-create ng economic activity at mas importante, mas mabilis itong makapag-create ng trabaho. No? Lalo na sa mga kababayan natin na even our OFWs na nawalan ng trabaho sa abroad na bumalik sa atin, malaki pong tulong ito. So, ngayon po, marami po ay nagsimula na. Meron po tayong 2 project na natapos out of the flagship projects during the lockdown ECQ period, yung pong Luzon Bypass Infrastructure. Ito po yung internet connectivity na idadagdag ng deal natin with the consortium involving Facebook. Tapos na po yun, 100% completed na. Hinihintay na lang po yung mga kable na pumasok. At meron din po tayo yung ang GAT augmentation project natin para magdagdag ng tubig sa Metro Manila. Natapos din po yun. Pero marami pong mga ongoing. Yung pinakamalaki po ay yung pag-award ng full phase ng Manila to Clark Railway. Ito po ay isang Japanese loan na tumulong din ng ADB at na-award na po yung buong Manila to Clark segment nung railway natin, no, hanggang Clark International Airport. Napirmahan na rin po ang mga kontrata at nagsimula na po ang construction nung later part of last year. So tuloy-tuloy po, pero medyo may malaki po ang epekto talaga nitong COVID-19 at bumagal po tayo dito.
Meron ba big ticket project na completely scrapped na as a result of the pandemic?
Ma'am Ami, I wouldn't say completely scrapped, no. Essentially ang term po siguro for this administration, tinabi po muna natin, no. Meron pong mga iba, no. Kasama po diyan yung bridge connecting Bataan and Cavite across Manila Bay. No, yan po kasi ay napakamalaking project at napakamahal po niyan, no. Mga more than 200 billion pesos po yan. And given the funding requirement as well as the yung complicated nature ng proyekto, no, minarapat po natin na itabi po muna and naghanap tayo ng mga project na mas kakailanganin natin tulad ng halimbawa ng dinagdag natin yung Virology Institute for Research and Development na itatayo sa New Clark City.
Itutuloy na pala yun.
Opo, na-approve na po yun at babudgetan na po yun for 2021, so matutuloy po yun.
Akala ko hindi siya.
Okay. Now, I mean, Mr. Dizon, if you don't mind, we'll take off one hat, put on another one of your hats sa testing naman po sa COVID.
Opo.
How are we doing sa testing?
Okay naman po, no? Much better than where we were several months ago, no? In March po, just to put things in perspective, no, in March, ang total test po natin nung panahon na yon was less than 100,000 total, no, for the entire country in March. Ngayon po, sa tulong na rin po ng iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno, ng mga LGUs, pati ng private sector, we hit our 4 million individuals tested mark 2 days ago. So 4 million na po tayo ngayon tests conducted. And we're roughly testing about 40,000 a day. No, yun po ang ating average ngayon, no. Much higher than the less than 1,000 a day that was being tested way back in March, in the early days of our response. So malaking bagay po 'yan. Pero ano po, no, hindi pa rin po tayo kailangan hindi pa rin tayo huminto, no, dahil marami pa rin pong challenges. Although ngayon napapansin natin bumababa ang numero, lalo na sa NCR at sa Greater Metro Manila area. Pero meron pong ang challenge natin po ngayon, meron pong mga emerging areas na dumadami naman po ang kaso. Ang problema po sa mga areas na yon, limited po o halos wala yung kanilang capacity to test with PCR. So kailangan mag-establish tayo ng more labs doon. And more importantly, I think nasabi ko nung last na nag-usap po tayo, kailangan mas agresibo tayo na mag-adapt dito sa mga bagong teknolohiya na lumalabas ngayon all over the world. No? Yung antigen, yung breath test.
Yeah.
So, kailangan mas mabilis tayo mag-adapt. Medyo kurang tayo sa bilis sa pag-adapt doon, Sir Robbie. So we have to...
Secretary, but there's some questions about the antigen tests. Hindi pumasok ang antigen test kit sa Pilipinas because the sensitivity was not enough. So where are we as far as that is concerned?
Well, we have to, kasi not all tests are created equal po, Sir Ed. No? So our experts here, especially our Health Technology Assessment Council, no? This is a council of experts from the private sector, from government that come together to evaluate all these tests. They really play a crucial role. No? So tama po kayo, meron po silang na test na sinabi nila na medyo hindi maganda ang resulta. So kailangan po mag-assess tayo ng ibang mga tests, no? Kasi nga hindi naman lahat to pare-pareho.
Yeah,
Secretary, as we said,
is there any active effort to procure saliva or gargle or spit test kung ano man yung tawag doon? Kasi yung marami nang nakakapansin na yung ibang bansa like in Japan, they're starting to use it. It's very cheap, it's highly accurate, and you get the results instantly. Now the Red Cross daw and Department of Health daw and I think the Go Negosyo Group, they are already moving to procure that. On your end, meron ding bang ganong movement?
Opo. Under the Universal Healthcare Act po kasi, Ma'am Ami, Sir Robbie, Sir Ed, ang gobyerno, ang national government, specifically ang DOH, ay hindi pwedeng mag-procure ng mga teknolohiya sa health system kung hindi ito dumadaan sa evaluation ng tinatawag na Health Technology Assessment Council. This was a council established under the law. So, ngayon po, ginagawa po yun. No? Ginagawa yung evaluation, yung assessment. Unfortunately, hindi pa po lumalabas yung sa saliva, sa breath tests. So, hindi pa po pwedeng bumigay ang national government. However, kapag ang mga test na ito ay pumasa na sa FDA, no? Yung ating Food and Drug Administration, ang private sector po ay pwede nang bumigay. No? Pwede na siyang bumigay, pwede nang gamitin ng private sector yon. No? Pero syempre, mas gugustuhin po natin talaga na magkaroon na ng assessment para makabili na po ang gobyerno para magamit din po natin sa mga lugar na unfortunately kulang o halos walang capacity to test using RT-PCR, which remains the gold standard, but there are some disadvantages. And the primary disadvantage is yung mabagal na turnaround time na sinabi niyo, Ma'am Ami. No? Kasi ang antigen, 15 minutes lang makukuha mo na yung resulta. No? Kaya, minuto din lang. No?
Secretary, Secretary, as we said, we're running out of time, but at the same time, you wear so many hats. We want to throw so many questions at you. You're with BCDA. You're the testing czar. You're involved with build infrastructure. So throw in everything into this one question. Pati sports, isasama ko na dito sa question na to.
PBA. Exciting po yan, Sir Robbie.
At Clark. Now, I want to throw this in this question. One, not just for the people looking forward, very excited to watch this on TV5 and on Signal and so on, but also as a microcosm of everything that you're involved with and you're trying to put together. I mean, throw in there what goes into building a bubble, and how crucial is all the experience and the technology that we now have when it comes to testing and putting the systems to ensure that we can create a safe environment?
Alam mo, Sir Robbie, napaka-importante po ng PBA bubble. First of all, it is the first sports bubble that has opened in Asia. Wala pa pong nag-open sa Asia. Ito po ang unang-una. Kaya ano po tayo dyan, no? We're very fortunate na bukas po natin ito. Pero importante din po siya, hindi lang po dahil sa sports, no? Importante siya dahil kailangan na natin at this phase in the pandemic, in the battle against COVID-19, kailangan na po nating mag-build ng kumpiyansa, ng confidence sa ating ekonomiya, sa ating mga kababayan. And I think the PBA bubble, kahit na sinasabi nga sports lang naman yan, pero napaka-importante po kasi na ma-realize ng ating mga kababayan na kung tayo po ay ipoprotekta ang sarili natin at kung ang mailalagay po natin yung mga necessary capacities needed to continue the fight of the against COVID-19 while we open up the economy, then this PBA bubble po shows na kakayanin natin. Halimbawa po, no? Yung testing, no? Very strict po ang protocols natin, no? In fact, ang benchmark po natin dito ay yung protocols ng NBA, ng National Hockey League sa Amerika at yung Major League Soccer sa Amerika din, no? Ginamit po natin yung benchmark na yon at in-apply po natin sa bubble. At the same time, apart from testing, yung contact tracing po, no, yung napaka-importanting component ng response, talagang binuhos po natin dito sa PBA bubble. Fully digital po ito, no? Ginamit po natin yung donation ng MVP group, yung Stay Safe. So, diyan po halimbawa, no, yung mga players po natin, coaches, wala po kayong makikitang nagsusulat kamay sila at nag-fill up ng mga form sa papel. Everything is automated. Makikita niyo po siguro sa mga ibang pictures, meron pong QR code dyan na binabaril ang mga players natin using their smartphones, no? Yan po, no? Yung QR code na yan. So, po, they enter their details. Every day po, they're required to give a health check, meaning sasabihin nila, may lagnat ba ako, may nararamdaman ba akong sipon, araw-araw yan, and they do that.
So Secretary, Secretary, what you're saying is, I mean, it is a bubble, di ba? I mean, it's but notwithstanding the fact that this is a bubble, a small controlled area. What you're saying is the lessons that we apply here and that we can get out of this experience, both in terms of the software, the systems, the technology, the politics, even. And these are things that LGUs, even everywhere, can get lessons from as well.
Tama po yun. Sakto po yun, Sir Robbie. No, it's like we take it sa NTF, we take it as a lab. No, para po siyang lab. No, we put in all the technologies. Later on po, pag na-approve na yung guidelines ng antigen, gagamitin na rin po natin ang antigen dyan. No, and then we learn from it. No, but at the same time, we monitor it in such a way na talagang sinisigurado natin na number one, ang goal natin, walang magkakasakit, walang magkaka-COVID. We put in all the protocols. Pero at the same time, natututo po tayo. Halimbawa po, no? Yung mga lessons natin dito, pwede nating i-apply yan sa tourism. No, nasabi po ni Ma'am Ami kanina. Yung Japan po, susubukan na nilang gamitin yung saliva test sa Haneda at sa Osaka, sa Kansai. If we start using new tests in the bubble, kasi hanggang December pa naman yan, we can start learning from that experience and maybe apply it at the airports. Para po, imbes na kina-quarantine natin ng 1-2 araw ang mga dumarating sa Pilipinas, kung itetest natin sila 15 minutes, kung wala naman silang simptomas, wala naman silang lagnat o ubo, then pwede na silang makalabas at pwede na silang pumunta sa Boracay, pwede na silang pumunta sa Palawan. So it's all about really building confidence po para dahan-dahan po, slowly, surely, safely, masimulan na nating mabuksan ang ekonomiya kasi desperate na po talaga tayong kailangan ng magbukas at manumbalik na yung kabuhayan, manumbalik na yung turismo, manumbalik na yung infrastructure, para talagang maka-recover na tayo dito sa problema nating malaki sa ekonomiya dulot ng COVID-19.
So ano pong facilities ang nandyan sa for sports? Ano pong facilities ang nandyan sa bubble na yan? Saka kung saan namin pwedeng mapanood?
Mag-open na po ang PBA officially sa Sunday. And alam ko po, exclusive ang One News at ang Channel 5.
At TV5.
Pumasok na po. In fact, pumasok na po, sir. You'll be happy to know. Pumasok na po, I think, almost 100 crew from TV5 and One News and Signal. Para po mag-start na sila to prepare for the broadcast starting Sunday.
Dami pala.
Yung iba po dyan, kilala ko, wag nyo na pong palalabasin.
Naku, baka masyado mag-enjoy dito si Robin, hindi na lumabas.
Going po sa question ni Ami, I'm sure a lot of people are intrigued kasi alam naman natin ang PEG, di ba? NBA ang PEG, di ba? So what happened at Disney World? I mean, ano po ba? I mean, what goes into that? Because hindi po to biro, we are talking about keeping people quarantined in this small area. First of all, how big is this area? I mean ano, isang gymnasium lang ba to or isang buong park ba to? How big is it and what is there for people to keep them? I mean, relatively well, yung well-being nila is also taken care of for the entire 3 months.
It's ang official ano po natin, parang Disney World natin or resort ay ang Mimosa Estate. It is 200 hectares. Napakalaki po niyan. 2 pong golf course, 2 championship golf course. In fact, nung Monday, first golf day po ng ating mga PBA coaches and players, naglaro po sila nung Monday. Ayan po yung golf course. And then, ano po yan, they can do everything there. They can use the gym, they can use the pool, they can jog around, they can use the golf course on Mondays. And ang maganda po dito is, as we proceed with the bubble, nag-iisip po kami, nakikipag-usap po kami sa PBA, baka pwede tayo magdagdag ng mga ibang attractions na pwede naman natin sa bubble at i-ensure yung safety ng ating mga bubble participants. No? Halimbawa, meron pa pong 4 pang golf course sa Clark. Pwede po tayo magbukas doon. Meron po tayong mga 80 all-terrain vehicle areas na pwede silang mag-all-terrain vehicle sa mga bundok, etc. No? So, all these things pinag-uusapan po natin with the PBA. Pero like I said, no, this is really evolving po itong bubble na ito, no? And as we learn more, as we are more confident with the protocols, then mas madadagdagan po natin ang mga pwede nilang gawin.
Pero sir,
Pero ngayon po, nakakatuwa, nagva-vlog po yung mga PBA players ngayon, tuwan-tuwa sa pagkain. Meron po isang PBA player, nagbukas ng sari-sari store sa kwarto niya. So, yung mga ibang player. So, nakakatuwa naman po, nakakahanap sila ng libangan sa bubble.
Pero sir, how strict is the security around the bubble? Kasi you're looking at a huge area, tapos nasa labas lang yung Angeles City.
Very, very strict po. Bawal pong lumabas. As you know, no, there are no spectators allowed in the bubble, no?
Yes.
In the games, no? Bawal pong it's not open to the public. Yung public po pwede lang silang manood sa Channel 5. And syempre, I think meron din live stream sa internet, no? Kamukha din ng PNP. So very strict po. We are working with our own security force in Clark, but also with the Philippine National Police and the local government units.
So no COVID sa bubble ha? Kasi sa US, yung mga athletes nila nagkakaroon
Wala pa po. No, sa NBA, NHL, 0 cases sila. 0 cases until now. No? So that is our goal. That is our goal. Pero, awa ng Diyos, wag naman po mangyari. Pero kung may mangyari man, meron naman tayong quick response protocols in case, no, merong weather. Kasi alam niyo po, hindi lang players ang nasa bubble, pati yung staff, no? Even the staff of the hotel, they cannot leave. No, even the drivers of the buses per team, they cannot leave the bubble. No,
Naka-quarantine sila actually.
They are quarantined.
Naka-quarantine sila.
Opo.
Okay.
Naka-ECQ sila.
Talagang bubble, oh. Naka-ECQ.
Opo.
Okay. Maraming salamat po. The man with many hats and many jerseys, Secretary Vince Dizon. Sir, thank you for joining us.
Jersey, wala pa po. Hindi po ako sa PBA. Baka mabigyan. Thank you, Sir Ed. Thank you, Sir Robbie, Ma'am Ami.
Thank you.
Salamat,
Thank
sir.
you, Sir.
Maraming salamat po.
Diba?
Thank you.
Kasi mahirap ka naman paglabas mo ng Clark, Fields Avenue na nasa kanan.
Pwede ka nang tumalaw doon, Ed.
The notorious Fields Avenue dati. Anyway, okay.
Okay.
Shall we call it a weekend?
Weekend na tayo.
Okay, that will be all for this weekend edition of the Chiefs. We hope what to discuss here will keep the conversation going. I'm Ed Lingapa News.
I'm Ami Paminton of the Philippine Star.
I'm Robbie Alampay. We are One News.